Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering draft video. It's Al here with you. This is how to draft MTG. I was wrong. I was wrong about red-green in my set review. I said it was going to be the weakest. It's in fact the strongest color pair so far, winning at a 61.6% clip on 17 lands. It's early. It's only a few days into the format, but typically these data points don't lie. So red-green is good. Make sure you're drafting it. I want to go over all these cards to look out for that are actually winning at or above that 61.6% clip that the deck is currently winning at. Some of these are surprises, so we're going to talk about those. I do want to say in my defense, I was right in the sense that you just kind of want to play cards that are good on rate in red-green, and there's not like a ton of synergy. There's a little bit of sub-synergy kind of going on, but it doesn't have that same, highly enforced synergy of some of the other color pairs. And therefore, I thought it was going to be weaker, but as it turns out, those other color pairs, the synergy, like Proliferate, Toxic, it's just not as good as I had initially thought. I think as a lot of people had thought, and I think people are fighting over those decks too right now. Toxic is a shiny new mechanic. People are trying to draft it, and you do kind of get cut out. And your decks get diluted at the draft table, and at the end of the day, just drafting a good curve of proactive spells with good rates has proven to be quite good. So let's get into these cards. Before we do that, I'll just mention, click that subscribe button if you want to support the channel. It's completely free, and it lets you know when I post more videos, which hopefully you want to check out. You can also leave a comment, say hello, add your thoughts, start some discussion down there. Always appreciate it. And click thumbs up if you like the video, or thumbs down if you don't like the video. And your feedback's always appreciated on how we can make these videos better. I'm just going to go through these really quickly here. These are just cards to look out for as you're drafting. Red as a color is quite deep and seems pretty powerful. And green also, the green color pairs are doing well. And these are just cards you're going to see that are pretty good on rate. Exuberant Fuseling, 1 mana, 1/1 trample. Just gets bigger as things die. Just a solid rate, not a ton of synergy here. Free from Flesh. This does have some synergy with certain cards, like the Fuseling, as it puts 2 oil counters, which is actually a lot in this format. The 2 oil counters is something that I overlooked originally. It's really good. Being 1 mana is really good. +2/+2 tends to win a combat, or can even come in for lethal damage sometimes. So this is a card that you're going to see pretty late at the draft table. You don't need a ton of these, but it's a nice sort of bonus when you're in red that you get to pick these up late. Hexgold Slash, of course, premium removal spell, although it is below a handful of these cards in terms of its win rate. You can check that out on 17lands.com. Great site. Highly recommend it. But yeah, obviously you're going to be taking these as early as you can. They're very, very good. Evolving Adaptive. This is one of the best cards in the deck as far as I'm aware. Green 1/1 just gets bigger as more creatures come into play. If you can put some extra oil counters on it, you're even happier about that. Card's a beast. You want to take it early for sure. Incubation Sac, kind of a big surprise here. I wasn't super high on this card in my set review. I thought it could be all right in black-green, but as it turns out, it's very good in red-green. So pick this up early. You might see it late if people aren't hip to it yet. Just the amount of 3/3s you get is really astounding, even if you're not proliferating or adding oil in any other way. But of course, if you are doing that, then it gets that much better. The only thing I'll say about this card is you don't want like too many of these in play at once, because you're not going to be able to activate multiple times a turn. So this is the kind of card where you just sort of take the first 1 or 2, and I probably wouldn't be super interested in any more than that. Rustvine Cultivator, another surprise. This is a card you're going to see late in packs. Take advantage of the fact that people are not hip to this yet. The 1/2 body blocks reasonably well early on. There's a couple 1-power toxic creatures you want to be blocking, and then ramping from 3 mana to 5 mana. So you put an oil counter on this turn 2. Turn 3, you can... 3 mana to 4 mana. Turn 3, you can remove an oil counter, drop a 4-drop, or put a second oil, turn 4, get a 5-drop out, which is more likely what you're going to want to do with this. So use this to ramp to 5, because there's some really excellent 5-drops. And the fact that it sort of has oil already on it is good, as we'll see for some other cards. Tyvar's Stand. This is just a 1-mana... hexproof indestructible, so don't even worry about the X. Saves your creature from removal for a single mana. Sometimes it'll win a combat if it's if they're evenly matched on power and toughness, or you put an extra mana or 2 into this and definitely win your combat. Instant speed. Card's very, very good. Again, don't need a ton of these. Free from Flesh is definitely better in this deck because it has actual synergy with oil, but a card to look out for. You'll see it late in packs. Check it out. Axiom Engraver, another card you're going to see very late in packs, and again, take advantage. This card looks very bad to me, or looked very bad, as it turns out it's very good. Not having to pay mana to use its rummaging ability is super, super powerful, and the fact that it comes with oil, the 1/3 body is very annoying. A lot of decks trying to just attack with 1 and 2 power creatures early. They can't get through this. It's actually just a really good card, and in this format, having 1s and 2s in play as early as possible is super, super important. And that's just another sort of box checked in favor of Axiom Engraver. So pick it up. Hex Gold Halberd, just a solid rate card. Again, 2 mana, 2/2, first strike, trample on your turn. The equipability later in the game is fine. I think this card is just mostly just a good 2-drop that's hard for your opponent to interact with. Gets some pressure on them early. Armored Scrapgorger, another excellent rate. 2 mana, 0/3, blocks kind of well, and then again, just the ability to ramp out some of these 5-drops we're going to be checking out, or even some of these 6-drops, is just huge game. It can help you splash, which you're not super interested in doing in this format in general, but can come up. Cankerbloom, 2 mana, 3/2. It's a good rate. It's a good card in this format. Sometimes you'll destroy an artifact. Sometimes you'll proliferate. Most of the time, you're just going to be attacking and blocking with this, and it's really good. Ruthless Predation, 2 mana, kill a thing, and your creatures are generally bigger than your opponent's creatures, so this is a solid one. Rebel Salvo, 3 mana, kill a thing, just good rate. Again, nothing surprising here. These cards we knew would be excellent. Volt Charge, same deal. The proliferate comes up sometimes when you've got some oil stuff going on. Contagious Vorak, great rate, 3 mana, 3/3, draws you a land. Sometimes you proliferate with it. I wasn't super excited about this card because I didn't see Toxic on it. I didn't see sort of a reason to really want to, synergize with this. But it turns out synergy not as important in a deck that's just full of good rate cards. So Vorak is just a good rate card. Chimney Rabble, similarly, 4 mana, 4/4 worth of stats. 3 of it's got haste over 2 bodies. Card's just excellent. This is another one you're going to see later in packs, and you can take advantage of that. Same with Lattice Blade Mantis, 4 mana, 4/3. Taxes of 5/4 Vigilance. It's got oil on it natively, which is important for a couple cards we're going to see in a little bit. And again, just super late pickup. The 4-drops are not as important to this deck. As we can see, there's only a couple of them that are really performing well. And the 3s as well. There's just really only Vorak. The removal spells are obviously great, but in terms of creatures, 3s and 4s are less important, it would seem, to this archetype than the 5s that we're going to check out right now. Furnace Strider, this is a card I've seen literally last pick, nothing else in the pack. There's no conceivable reason why that should happen. I don't know. This card just kind of looks bad, I guess, but at first glance to most people. But 5 mana, 4/5 haste, and then the fact that I can give something else haste is really gross. I've even double spelled with this, where like I've cast it and another creature, give them both haste, and swing for lethal. This card is very, very good. The only thing holding it back is it's a 5-drop, so it's gonna not be impactful every single game that you see it, but it's quite good, and it comes with oil on it already, which I keep saying is important, and it is. Resistant Skywarden, just a big old package of stats here. 5 mana, 5/5. It's got reach, which is helpful. Flying is really good in this format I found so far. It's really hard to deal with flyers. So this does that, and Menace is a good bit of evasion as well. Oil Gorge Troll. Here's a real payoff for all this oil stuff. 5 mana, 3/4. You gain 3, and then you draw a card if you have an oil counter on a card. And this is a great payoff. And this is why we want things like this Rustvine Cultivator that has an oil. So you put the first oil on it, turn 2, you put the second oil on it, turn 3, turn 4, you're playing a troll, 1 mana ahead of curve, and you're getting to draw a card and gain 3 life. Just big game. 3/4 is a pretty big body. Card's good. So especially in this particular archetype, not great elsewhere, but in this particular archetype, it's really good. This is another surprise for me. I just didn't think that a 6 mana 6/6 trample was really going to be anything to write home about in a format that seemed to be all about like poison and proliferate. But again, stats are good, and you can ramp this out sometimes a little bit earlier with the Rustvine Cultivator or the Armored Scrapgorger, and you'll be happy when you do, because it's a banger apparently. Cinder Slash Ravager is another card that rewards us for having oil already, because it gets cheaper when we do. So something like Axiom Engraver gets double good in a deck with Cinder slash Ravager, because it's essentially ramping you into your 6-drop just by existing, and the 1 damage to everything your opponent's control matters, and the vigilance is nice as well. So this is a card you want to pick up early. You're not going to see this one late, but you might see the Battle Chair late, and you may see the Oil Gorger Troll late as well. So yeah, this deck's kind of just a combination of, like, it's good at common and uncommon. We haven't even mentioned any rares yet, and we're going to talk about those soon. But all of these cards are winning, like, above 61% clip, and they're all commons and uncommons, and many of them you see late in packs. So this is the perfect sort of combination of, you know, these cards are going late. They don't look great. They don't really seem to have... Some of them don't really seem to have a place in the set in terms of, like, people are excited about Toxic and Proliferate, and not as excited about Oil and just sort of vanilla good creatures. And the deck is actually good, so you're getting the bonus of seeing these cards late, and the deck actually working quite well in the format so far. The lands, we got to talk about the lands. These lands, I think, have overperformed to most of the set reviews I've seen. They seem to do quite well. You're happy to play 2 of these, and you're happy to play 1 or 2 Terramorphic Expanse. Probably like a total of 4 at the most lands that come into play tapped, I think, is what I would be comfortable with. 3 is probably more close to the correct number, because we are trying to play 1-drops, but I still think you do want these, and they do come up on occasion. But as the format matures, maybe they'll become less important. I'm not sure. Maybe the data is just skewing them up, but they felt impactful to me. And when you draw a card off of these late in the game, if you're in a stalemate, it feels really nice. And we'll talk about a few rares here. I'm not going to talk about mythics because you're just not going to see them all that often. But, I mean, these are pretty obviously quite good, right? Bloated Contaminator, just a good rate. 3 mana, 4/4 with Trample and Toxic. Toxic doesn't matter, but it's a nice piece of cardboard right there. Miglos Maze Crusher, another 3 mana, 4/4. Just rate. It comes with 5 oil on it. It does a bunch of things with oil. And it just works super well. This is like a slam dunk first pick. Dragonwing Glider, similar. It's 1 color, so you're happy to take this early. Maybe you don't end up red-green. Maybe you end up red-white or red-blue or something. It's always going to be good. Yeah, it's a hasty 4/4 flying that has impact beyond that, which is great. And then you got Thrun, which is super annoying. Can't be countered. 5 mana, 5/5 trample. Your opponents can't target it with stuff, and it has indestructible in your turn. It's just a big old package of stats again. So I've probably repeated myself enough for this video. I was wrong about red-green. I think a lot of people didn't see this coming because red-green is usually not very good and limited in general, but it is good, and you should try to get into it. I would start by taking, premium red removal like Rebel Salvo, Volt Charge, Hex Gold Slash, or maybe like the gold uncommon here, and Contagious Vorak. These are all cards that you kind of want to start with. And then, and also Incubation Sac to some degree, although I think you can kind of pick this up late. Evolving Adaptive. These are cards that you want to be taking with your early picks and sort of filling it out from there. And then, of course, there's a suite of other red and green commons and uncommons that do reasonably well in this deck. You can check those out on 17 lands, but these are sort of the big players for the deck. So, with that, we'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much. Please do click subscribe, click like, leave a comment. Let me know how the format's going for you so far and what other kind of videos you'd like to see. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye for now.